Hello and welcome again to the Autodesk Ecotec tutorial session. My name is Akshay Patel, and in this tutorial we'll be learning about how to set up the grid for before we can start working on the 3D modeling. As you can see over here, we have a small red color grid shaped icon which gives us access for the grid settings. When we click over here, this is the menu that we get. In the first menu, we have option for specifying the grid size. The grid size means the size of each square that we have on the grid surface. In our case, we'll be having it as 3 feet by 3 feet. And we also have the small lock shaped icon over here. In case if you want to have both these dimensions same, you can basically keep it locked, and if you want to specify different dimensions, then you can do that by keeping it unlocked. Then we have grid extents over here, which simply means the extent of the grid in X, Y and Z direction. Right now these values mean that our origin point or the starting point for our grid will be 0, 0, 0, and the grid will extend maximum up to 100 feet in X, Y and Z direction respectively. Then we also have some grid display settings over here, like how you want your grid to be displayed on the screen. Right now we have it in the ground plane mode, which simply means that the grid is displayed in the XY plane. In the second option, basically you can represent or display the grid in a compass shaped format. Then in the third option, if you want to have a background image to be displayed on the grid, that you can do it over here. And in the last option, you can basically display the grid in an enclosed manner, like in a box shaped fashion. And then in the second menu over here, this is all about how to display the grid in a 3D fashion. You can specify the zoom value, the fit value and the point size, etc. And here you can also specify the azimuth of your eye and the altitude from which you want to look basically at the perspective view. And then you can also specify the type of lens that you want to use for looking at the perspective view. Basically we'll be keeping it as standard always. Then you can also specify the offset for your origin point of the grid, but generally we would like to keep it as 0 and 0. And if you click this button, the fit window button over here, basically you can resize the grid to the screen size basically. And then you also have some data overlay options over here. If you have this north point checked over here, it will simply mean that the north direction will be displayed on the grid surface, and similarly you can display or you can hide these particular features. Then in the background bitmap menu, basically this is all in case if you want to have a background image to be displayed on the grid, that you can do over here. You can also specify the position and the size of the background image that you want. You can also rescale the bitmap image if you want. And finally in the last menu, here we have options for specifying the latitude and altitude of the of your building location. We have already covered this before, but it is another way of specifying your building location. You can also specify, or you can also load the climate data from here. You can specify the time and date on which you want your analysis to be performed, and you can also set up the orientation of the building from here. So this is pretty much about it. I believe by now in this tutorial we must have got a basic idea of how to set up the grid. In the next tutorial we'll be basically going through the some of the various tools that we have for creating the building geometry in the Ecotec program. So thank you and have a good day.